occluding this SFJ, the venous system is getting distended. It means there is an incompetent perforator somewhere from which the blood flow is flowing from deep to superficial system. Which suggests a perforator incompetence. So basically, varicose vein is a dilated and tortuous vein in the lower limb because of incompetent perforator, either saphenofemoral junction or some incompetent perforators. So basically, there are valves in the venous system which get incompetent. What is the direction of blood flow in veins? Where should blood flow? So direction will be always from lower limb towards upwards, because the collected blood has to go towards the heart. So similarly, in superficial veins also, the direction of blood flow will be from where to where? Superficial to deep, or deep vein to superficial vein. It has to go towards the heart. So it will go from periphery to center. So you must understand when there are valves to prevent the opposite flow. Like from lower limb, it has to go towards the heart in venous system. So there are valves like saphenofemoral junction pe there is a valve, and there are many valves in the veins which prevents the opposite flow. Normally, there should not be blood flowing from upper part of the body towards the lower limb in the venous system. But if suppose there are some incompetent valve, then due to gravitational pull, there will be flow, there will be gravitation of the blood in the veins, and they will become tortuous and distended. These veins are known as varicose vein. So what are the chief complaints a varicose vein patient will tell you? Firstly, swelling along the veins or dilated veins in the lower limb, which are actually distended and tortuous vein, and there may be pain in the lower limb or blackish pigmentation of the skin in the leg. So these are the distended, dilated, tortuous veins which will be present along the lower limb, along the venous system, superficial venous system, or the patient may have blackish pigmentation or even a ulcer in the leg due to chronic stasis. Because of the persistent venous hypertension, there are some theories, neutrophil trapping theory, and there is a fibrin cuff theory which says there is a ulcer formation due to prolonged stasis. So these are also known as stasis ulcer. So firstly, lipodermatosclerosis. This pigmentation and subcutaneous thickening is also known as lipodermatosclerosis or any pigmentation. And then ultimately an ulcer will form. I have already explained this is formed in the gaiters area. Gaiter is a protective clothing worn by snow workers, which is usually in the medial malleolar region or in the lower part of the leg. So then you will proceed in detail history, whatever patient is telling. If the patient is telling that I have distended vein or I have dilated vein, or some patient may even tell ki mujhe सूजन hai, they will just say सूजन. So of that swelling, you have to ask whether it was sudden onset or insidious onset. So in deep vein thrombosis, the onset will be sudden, while in primary varicose vein, the onset will be insidious. While you must look for the duration of the symptom. A long standing varicose vein is likely to cause complication like stasis ulcer or even pigmentation. And you must also note the site of onset and progression. I will shortly tell what is the importance of site of the swelling or the dilated tortuous vein. And you must also note the relieving factor, because it usually disappears on the lying down. Because there is an incompetency of the vein, because of the gravitational pull, there is pooling of the blood in the veins. So once the gravitational pull disappears by lying down or even raising the limb above your head level, then the swelling will disappear because the blood will flow towards the cephalad side. Or you should also note any pain or color change along the course of the vein, which will denote a thrombophlebitis, which is another complication of the varicose vein. And if there is a pain, you must assess whether it is acute onset, which will be seen in DVT, or insidious onset, which is due to long standing varicose vein, it will be dragging or dull aching type of pain. So dull aching will be seen in varicose, while cramping pain in the calf will be seen in deep vein thrombosis. Then you must also inquire history of mood of occurrence, whether it was on walking or towards the end of the day. On walking and intermittent claudication, there may be history of peripheral vascular disease, and if there are presence of varicose vein because of the slow pooling and constant pooling, and there are leaky incompetent perforators, then the symptom will be more prominent towards the end of the day. And if there are any presence of night cramp or not, night cramp will be present in peripheral vascular disease, which is also known as PAD, peripheral arterial disease. And if there is a history of ulceration, you must inquire onset, duration, and site of the ulcer, any associated pain, discharge, and bleeding in the ulcer, and whether itching is present or not, and skin color change all around it. And you must also note pain in the abdomen, in any lump in the upper abdomen or any abdominal lump. Because of the presence of the abdominal lump, there may be pressure changes transmitting, and they may cause DVT, or even a very large lump may cause a varicose vein because of the impaired return from the deep veins. So there is a classification which is known as clinical, etiological, anatomical, pathological classification, which is short-termed as a CEAP, clinical, etiological, anatomical, and pathophysiological. So C0 is no evidence of venous disease. C1 is superficial spider vein, which are reticulate vein, telangiectatic vein like this. And C2 is, so I have made the mnemonic of C2. C2 is simple varicose vein, the vein which you usually see, they are C2. And C3 is ankle edema of venous origin, and C4 is pigmentation in the gatus area, which is usually lipodermatosclerosis. And C5 will be a healed ulcer, while C6 will be an open venous ulcer, which is not healed, active ulcer. So now coming to other inquiry about past history, you must inquire any history suggestive of deep vein thrombosis, which will be pain and swelling in the calf region with fever, any history of hospitalization or prolonged immobilization in the vent. In personal history, you must inquire the intake of any high estrogen OCP pills, history of smoking, occupational prolonged standing for the long time, which is usually seen in teachers and surgeons. So they are more prone to varicose vein. And computer professional requiring long hours in sitting posture, which is also known as E-thrombosis. And you should also inquire whether there is recent long air travel, which is also known as economy class syndrome, and deep vein thrombosis occurs due to persistent immobilization in a cramped seat. And you must also inquire a family history, because the varicose vein runs in a family. There is a predilection in the families. So once you are finished with the family history, then you should elicit the treatment history, any history of surgery in the lower limb, whether they are using elastic compression or Unna boot or not. Are you aware of Unna boot? What is Unna boot? It's a basically tri-layered dressing which also contains zinc oxide. So it's kind of as we do plaster for the fracture, there is a plaster kind of tri-layered dressing which assumes a shape of boot. So these are known as Unna boot. And you must note any history of injection sclerotherapy, any history of calf pain and swelling, which will denote a deep vein thrombosis, or any pleuritic chest pain, hemoptysis, and dyspnea, which will suggest that DVT has gone towards the pulmonary circulation and caused a pulmonary embolism. So basically in history, you have to inquire about the chief complaint, any etiological factor of the chief complaint, or complication of your first diagnosis, like say varicose vein, then other etiology, like there is an ulcer, so you will, and there is a varicosity. So your primary diagnosis is varicose vein. A DD may be a peripheral vascular disease, so you will rule out PVDs, and you will also ask about the complication of varicose vein, like lipodermatosclerosis, ulcer, lipodermatosclerosis, or DVT or pulmonary embolism. Once you are done with your thorough history, then you will proceed towards the examination. varicose vein should always be examined in, so you must examine in standing position. There are certain tests which are done in supine position, and you must note the dilated veins location. Where are they located? See whether the dilated system is this great saphenous system or in short saphenous system. So in front of the medial malleolus, it runs medially in the leg and thigh, and then drain towards the saphenous opening. So this kind of dilated vein, as you see on the screen, and going towards up, this is dilated great saphenous system. So the location of the swelling is also important. Similarly, the short saphenous system runs behind the lateral malleolus like this, and runs posteriorly over the calf region, as you see here, runs posteriorly, and then terminates into the popliteal fossa, as you see here. So the junction here is sapheno-popliteal junction. Sapheno, short saphenous के लिए sapheno, and popliteal vein में जा रही है तो sapheno-popliteal junction. Also short termed at SPJ, and whereas this junction is known as sapheno-femoral junction, SFJ. Saphenous, long saphenous vein, and going into the femoral, deep femoral vein, then sapheno-femoral junction, SFJ. And there will be multiple perforators connecting superficial veins to deep veins, and there are a presence of valves in them also. So you should also note the location, whether location of the perforator. There are multiple perforator, which is again a theoretical discussion. Cox perforator, Dodds perforator, Cockett's perforator. So then you should also note the extent of involvement. कितना involvement है, leg में ही है, केवल foot में है, or in the whole limb. And you should also note the skin of the leg for presence of pigmentation, eczema, ulcer disease, any presence of ulcer, texture and color of the skin, and any localized redness along the veins, which will be present in superficial thrombophlebitis. And there is a particular entity which is known as phlegmasia alba dolens. In this, the limb will be white. Alba is a term for white. So जैसे linea alba, abdomen में होता है, there is a whitish line that is known as linea alba. So here alba is for white. So if there is a lymphatic edema and obstruction, the limb will be generalized white, which is known as phlegmasia alba dolens. And there is an entity which is known as phlegmasia caerulea dolens. Caerulea is a word for bluish discoloration. So it is seen in DVT, the limb will be bluish and congested like this. So phlegmasia alba dolens is due to lymphatic obstruction, the limb will be whitish. And while in DVT, the limb will be congested and bluish, which is known as phlegmasia caerulea dolens. And you should also, in inspection, you should also elicit the cuff impulse at the saphenous opening. So this is seen in saphena varix. So at the saphenous opening, there will be varix, and you may also note a cuff impulse there. How will you locate a saphenous opening? So the saphenous opening is basically 4 centimeter below and lateral to the pubic tubercle in the thigh area. So there are some textbook which says 3.5 centimeter. So there is a kind of variation in textbook. You can either say 3.5 centimeter or 4 centimeter below and lateral to the pubic tubercle in the thigh. In Morrissey's cuff impulse test, you will find there is a cuff impulse due to presence of saphena varix. And you should also know as any discrepancy in limb size. Is there any local gigantism in not? There are certain syndromic affection of the varicose vein. So once you are finished with the inspection, then you should proceed towards the palpation. You should look for tenderness and thickening along the veins, whether they are tender, and is there any cord-like thickening along the veins or not. And you must also, firstly, you will look for the cuff impulse. In palpation, you will also feel for the cuff impulse at the saphenofemoral junction, which will be seen in saphena varix, which is known as Morrissey's cuff impulse test. So these are important things which can be asked in ward leave. So you must be aware in which condition these are present. So Morrissey's cuff impulse is present in saphena varix. There is another test which you should perform, which is known as Brody-Trendelenburg test. So there are two parts. So there are two parts of this Brody-Trendelenburg test, which is to evaluate perforator and saphenofemoral valve respectively. So in all the varicose vein test, you must raise the limb and then milk the blood down, so that they are flat. There is no blood present at all. You will raise the limb up and then you will milk down the blood so that there is no distension of the vein, and they are collapsed. Then in first part, the firstly which I told, empty the vein and then block saphenofemoral junction by tourniquet. You will localize it by 4 centimeter or 3.5 centimeter below and lateral to the pubic tubercle, and then you will block it either by your hand. Earlier we used to block with the thumb, but nowadays tourniquet is preferred because it is more flexible and your hands are free. So you will tie a tourniquet there and you will ask him to stand by keeping the tourniquet tied. If it is positive, then the superficial veins will get distended, which suggests perforator incompetent. And once they are distended, perform a second test in which you will empty the vein again, block saphenofemoral junction by tourniquet and make him stand, and then you will release the tourniquet. So if it is positive, after you release the tourniquet, there is sudden increase in the venous size, then it will suggest that the superficial veins get filled quickly from the above, which will suggest an incompetence of saphenofemoral junction. I will make you understand the pathophysiology, then I will explain the test again. So suppose this one is the deep vein, either popliteal or femoral vein, and this one is the superficial vein, and this one is the perforators. So blood flow will be from periphery to the center, from below upwards in the superficial vein as well as in the deep venous system, and from superficial to deep venous system. So it will not be opposite due to presence of valve here, and due to presence of valve here, the blood will not be flowing from deep to superficial system or from above downwards. So this flow is not possible if there are presence of competent valve. So valve is basically a unit which allows unidirectional flow only. And in the deep venous system, the flow will be towards the upward side only. There will be no downward flow. So these arrow shows that these flow are not possible if the veins are competent. So suppose if there will be incompetent saphenofemoral junction, the valve at there incompetent SFJs. So the incompetency of this valve will be known as incompetent SFJ, saphenofemoral junction. The blood will go downwards and trickle and cause distension of these veins. But if this is patent, then there will be no pooling of blood here in this superficial system. What we do by tying tourniquet, you can only occlude the superficial venous system. You cannot occlude the deep venous system because they are present deep in the muscle and protected by the fascia. So once you tie the tourniquet like this, the superficial venous system will be occluded. So like says the patient is standing up, this is the deep vein, this is the superficial vein, and this is the perforator. There is a perforator here also. So if I occlude here, so there should be no dilatation here because of, if this valve is competent, because there will be no blood flow here. So this will not be filling up. But suppose if this is incompetent, so blood will be flowing from deep vein to superficial vein. So this will be swelling up. And if this wall is incompetent, then the blood flow will flow from deep to the superficial system and this will swell up. So you can also know the location of the perforator by a multiple tourniquet test. By applying tourniquet, then you will say whether the ऊपर वाला perforator खराब है या नीचे वाला perforator खराब है. You can keep on tying and you will be knowing by just location of these multiple tourniquet. So I will again repeat the Brody-Trendelenburg test, so which has a two part. The first part is actually to evaluate for the perforator. So in first part you have to empty the veins and block the SFJ. अब SFJ block कर दिया, and if there is a swelling here, in applying the tourniquet, we are just occluding the superficial system. हम deep system को occlude नहीं कर सकते. So because even the occluding this SFJ, the venous system is getting distended, it means there is an incompetent perforator somewhere from which the blood flow is flowing from deep to superficial system. Which suggests a perforator incompetence. So you must understand that the first part of the Brody-Trendelenburg test suggests perforator incompetence. While in second part, once you empty the vein and blocks SFJ tourniquet, And even if there is some kind of filling, or even if there is no, if there is filling, it will say that, it will suggest that there is some incompetent perforator. Suppose there is no filling and you are just releasing tourniquet. Even if there is incompetent, then there will be some kind of swelling here. But जैसे ही आप SFJ खोलोगे and SFG is also incompetent, then the dilatation will be aggravated. And there is a very important test which is known as Fegan's test. So at the site of incompetent perforators, you will find there is a crescentric gap in the deep of the dilatation of the vein. It will also dilate the fascia. If there is a perforator incompetence here, once you the deep fascia, there you will find a crescentic gap in the deep fascia. So this is known as Fegan's test. So there is another test which is known as Perthes test, in which you block the eye and ask the patient to walk for around 3 to 5 minutes. So because of the you have tourniquet the SFJ, and there is a muscle activity there, and there will be accumulation of blood, and which will flow from superficial to deep normally. So there will be no dilatation. Actually, there will be collapse because of the patency of the deep vein. So हमने SFJ ब्लॉक कर दिया, केवल सुपरफिशियल वेन ब्लॉक है, लेकिन परफोरेटर कॉम्पिटेंट है, तो वो उसके थ्रू डीप वेन के थ्रू ऊपर चला जाएगा, क्योंकि हम कभी डीप वेन टॉर्निके से ब्लॉक नहीं कर सकते. इफ द डीप वेन्स आर ऑक्लूडेड बाय थ्रोम्बोसिस, व्हाट विल हैपन? हमने सुपरफिशियल भी ब्लॉक कर दिया, देयर विल बी डिस्टेंशन एंड बर्स्टिंग पेन. And the venous system will be getting distended, and there will be bursting pain in the lower limb because of the presence of deep vein thrombosis. So this is known as modified Perthes test, so which actually tests the DVT. So there is another outdated test which is known as Pratt's test. It is to look for position of the perforator. From toe to the groin, you have to empty the vein, and then you have to block the SFJ by tourniquet, and you have to make the elastic bandage like this from toe to the groin, and you have to remove the bandage in a sequential manner from groin to toe, and you have to see the blowout at site of the perforators. So it is known as Pratt test, but it is kind of outdated. You can also assess the perforator by Fegan's test as well as the multiple tourniquet test. So now if there is a presence of ulcer, you will also proceed for palpation of the ulcer, and you have to also go for palpation of the arterial pulses, because the ulceration in the lower limb can also be caused by peripheral arterial disease. So there are two signs to elicit in deep vein thrombosis. I am telling you with caution that both of these signs are outdated. Outdated why? Because one should not actively elicit the deep vein thrombosis, because it may cause dislodgement of the clot, and it will go towards the pulmonary circulation and cause pulmonary embolism. So these tests should not be actively demonstrated. So the Homan test says that on passive dorsiflexion of the foot with knee extended, you extend the knee and you do a passive dorsiflexion like this, and due to stretching of the calf muscle, there will be pain. So in DVT, you will find a positive Homan sign. There is another sign which is known as Moses sign. In a semi-flexed knee, what you do, you squeeze the calf muscle in a side-to-side manner like this, and you will see that there is a pain. So it is again positive in DVT. Why you should not elicit it actively? So basically, if you squeeze the calf, or if you do passive dorsiflexion, the clot in the deep veins can dislodge and go towards the pulmonary circulation and cause pulmonary embolism. So you should not elicit the Homan sign as well as Moses sign actively, or even the Pratt's test. Okay. You should not elicit actively if you are suspecting a deep vein thrombosis. So then you may find a bruit in arteriovenous fistula. There are certain disorders in which there is a fistula from artery to vein, and you will find a bruit in AV fistula. So this is very important table. So for SFJ incompetence, Trendelenburg part 2, Morrissey's cuff impulse test, and for perforator incompetence, Trendelenburg 1, Fagan's test, Price test, and multiple tourniquet tests, while for DVT, Perthes, Homans, and Moses.